Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. Welcome to English grade 8 video lessons. I'm your instructor Zahmid. I hope that you're doing well. Students, today we are going to cover another SLO, but this time we are going to cover reading and critical thinking. So for reading and critical thinking, we are going to see literary techniques that has been used in the main lesson, and also for increasing the reading comprehension and to answer questions after that, we have kind of questions which we call higher order questions. Now, let's read our SLO and see what we are supposed to do. So we have two SLOs merged into one lecture. First one is that we evaluate the literary techniques, for example, music or sound, imagery or visual effects, type of vocabulary and language structure used in written and visual texts to achieve a variety of purposes. Yes. Now, these literary techniques are used for both poetry and prose. For example, these will be specifically for your poetry, and imagery, visual effects can also be shown in both poetry and prose. We can also analyze type of vocabulary and the language structure that has been used in the text. Then, for the second SLO, ask and answer simple and higher order questions to guide or assess reading. For example, these type of questions: why is the author saying this right now? Why did the author choose this word? And how is this different from what I read somewhere else? Yes, students, mostly when you read the main lesson or a passage, you are asked to answer some questions. Now, these questions can be simple or they can be higher order questions which require your critical thinking and analytical abilities. We are going to see what the higher order questions are. Since this is about reading, so we will include the main lesson text in the slides. Before we begin, here you can see the vertical linkage that this links it with the previous grades SLO. And for the brainstorming session today, what you're going to do is think about it before we dive into our lesson. Think about the literary techniques that we find in a text. Yes, we definitely do, but what are those literary techniques that the author or the writer use? Then you have to think about the reading comprehension questions. So you have been doing it for so many grades. What are these comprehension questions? We will talk about it and we will begin our lesson. I hope that you are now familiar with the learning outcomes and the brainstorming prompts. Students, here, as you know, this is your main text, which includes a diary entry. Now, if you read it, you can see that punctuations are used, and so does your different hyphens and dashes. For example, here we can only find dashes, but in the next page we can see that these punctuation marks, the dashes, they work like a literary technique, and the author have used it to give details about it. We did not talk to anyone, we just kept quiet. So this is a pause, it's a break. In the next part of the diary entry, you can again see that there are different dashes, and yes, there are some abbreviations, there are dashes that are used all over the text. Now, I hope that you have read the lesson. If not, then read it quickly by pausing the video, open up your books and read the main lesson about a diary entry. Now, when we are talking about it, just as we have gone through, we find dashes. Now, dash is a punctuation mark that looks similar in appearance to a hyphen or minus sign, but differs in terms of length and function. For example, your hyphen is a shorter length, but the dash will be a little longer, and the usage of both these punctuation marks are different. Its usage varies both with English and in other languages, but the usual convention in printed English text is as follows. So what does a dash do? A dash basically denotes a break in a sentence or to sets of parenthetical statements. Statements that we usually put in parentheses for additional information. For example, we had not seen anything like that. First, green frozen lake. Now you can see this dash. Your cameras won't capture the beauty your eyes are witnessing. It was that moment. So after this expression, after expressing and describing the scene, saying that it was that moment, this requires you to take a break over here because of the dash. A dash indicates a break in thought. For example, if you are witnessing a dash, you can say that there's a lot of thought behind it, and the author wants you as a reader to take a break and think about it. For example, we did not talk to anyone. We just kept quiet, watching and feeling pressure of someone much older than the human species. Now, here you can see that this denotes a break. Also, when the author is writing it, it took a pause, the author took a pause, and as a reader, when we are reading it, we are also going to take care of this break. Now, after understanding the literary techniques, like here we discussed about dash and the usage, now you can see that these comprehension questions are given right after your main lesson. Right after the comprehension, you are always put forward some questions that you need to answer. Now let's read the questions and find out which one of them are simple and which one are higher order questions. First, where did the narrator and his companions want to go? It's a very simple question. You can find the answer from the comprehension passage or the main lesson easily. Describe the beauty of the Indus River. This is also a simple question. Why did the author call the experience with Pasukons and Hussaini Bridge once in a lifetime experience? Now this requires critical thinking. So we can call it a higher order question. Or you can also call it HOTS, higher order text. All right. Now, what is the special thing about Bolted Fort? Why Hussaini Bridge is risky to cross? And now these are also your simple questions. What do you know about Pasukons? Describe in your own words. Now here, this is also a simple question, but it requires your own words. And how would you plan traveling considering the importance of preparation and choice of destinations? This is a higher order question that we need to think about it and then we need to answer it. Here is your analytical question, which is also coming under the higher order question. How do the words and descriptions in the passage help you feel like you are there with the writer, seeing and feeling everything he is? Now, we have divided our simple and higher order questions. The higher order questions, to solve them, students, you have to read the passage, read the main lesson, put your experiences forward and combine your understanding with the text and then answer the questions. So these higher order questions require your input and your understanding, because these simple questions you can find the dates, the names and different statistics in the text, but the higher order questions require more of your input than you can find in the comprehension text. So I hope that after reading the main lesson, you can answer these questions, or if not, you can find the solutions as well, and hence we can say that the learning outcome is fulfilled. We talked about dashes in the text. They work as literary techniques. We talked about the different kinds of questions that we have after we read something. Here is your worksheet where you have to read the given text and then answer some questions. Talk about the theme or other things. Yes, all these resources, students, they are available. I would request the teachers to go in the description below and find these different resources and distribute them among students so that they can perform well and put their knowledge into practice. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that we have covered it really well, and you can now read the comprehension passage again, find out, and then answer the questions. That's all about today. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.